Hello everyone, welcome to our class. Today let's talk about a protocol. What's a protocol? Why we need protocol? Actually, protocol, this concept is very important part in these videos. Okay, so let's look at the protocol. So you can see we have a local network. Actually, we have like really complicated network, cable, light, graph in the world. But let's look at each machine in a local variable, local network, right? So let's look at the local network. So right now in my house, if I have a computer here, I want to send a message to just to my neighbors. There's another computer here. I want to send a message from this machine to this machine. How can I do? Use a network. But here's the question. Where? Where's this machine? I don't know where's the address of this machine, right? So how can I connect these two? How can I connect these two? How can I make the connection between these two machines by using this network? So because it's really complicated, there's so many machines, so many routers in the world. Actually, this is a router. Okay, so many routers in the world. So we cannot easily find the machine we want to send the data, like which machine I want to send this data. So it's really hard. And also inside these systems, I have a machines from Verizon. I have a machine from Verizon, and this one has a machine on probably like a AT&T, and this one has a machine from Comcast, and this one has a machine from maybe IBM. So there's a lot of different brands of protocol, like a brand of the router. So how these machine communicate? So if I'm the Verizon, I just met my own machine. Do I want to communicate with the machine in AT&T? If yes, we two companies need to like negotiate how to connect, right? So it's get really complicated in the world. If there's so many product provider, network provider, but you have to like do a lot of communication with it is so not efficient. And if you have like 100 company, you need to talk to 100 company. This is not definitely not a good idea, right? So there's a lot of like a question we need to solve. Like we need to answer if we want to make we want to build this the network world, like the network for whole world. So how can we do it? So let's talk about protocol. Protocol is this idea from these questions, because we want to support the communication between different machine, between different router, between different area. So definitely we need to find a standard. Just one standard, everyone follow these rules, then build your machine. So I provide you a rule. Everyone you need to follow it. If you want to use Wi-Fi, then you have to like satisfy uh, the network, like what's the frequency for the Wi-Fi. You need to follow it. Otherwise, you cannot use Wi-Fi. So this is what we call protocol. Why we need protocol? Because we want to answer the question how to communicate. How to communicate between the machine. So one possibility, we can just use one rule for all. So no matter what company you are, no matter what kind of machine you want to use to connect this network, if you follow the rule, then you can connect. Okay, so this is what we call protocol. So what's a protocol? You can imagine that protocol is a rule. Everyone need to follow it, then to build this network stuff. So there's a lot of like details, but in other way, actually, in human world, we have a protocol. For example, usually when your neighbor say, okay, what's the time? You usually will say, okay, the what's the time? It's 4 o'clock. What's the time? It's 10 o'clock. Your neighbor asks you what's the time. You won't tell, say, okay, this is my house. You won't answer this, right? So you can imagine that this is kind of protocol. If they try to do something, you will respond in some way. So, for example, I have a question. This kind of like a question, this kind of stuff. When you hear I have a question, you usually say, okay, what's it? What's the questions, right? So this is kind of like a specific message you usually like a response to the specific messages like sent by others. So in this case, the roughly what's a protocol? Protocol is kind of okay, everyone follow the rules. So if you get this signal, get this like a the message, how you respond to it. You usually have a pattern to respond to it. So this is a protocol. So you can see the protocol is more like this. Uh, one one if your neighbor say hi, you probably just like respond to hi, and your neighbor say okay, what time is it? You just tell the time. So it's the same as the protocol we use in our computer. The computer try to build a TCP connection. What's a TCP? We will talk about it in other video. So it's built a connection, then the server will give us some response. Okay, I already connected. So right now, your client, your machine, try to get, okay, I want to get this information, and your machine will based on the request and send some information back. So this is a protocol, following some rules. So everyone follows the same rules, then everyone can communicate. Okay. So actually, there's a lot of protocol in a network. There's a 5 different layer of a protocol. So network is so complicated, which means we also need a lot of complicated like stuff to define a lot of stuff, a lot of things. For example, for application, we know we have HTTP. Usually use HTTP to like Google it, or you want to search a website, right? But you probably know we also have FTP. So we have a HTTP, FTP, SMTP for your email server. So actually, there's a couple different applications to deal with the network connection. So if your machine try to connect to a HTTP server, then this HTTP server usually just responds some like a file, the web page to you, right? If you just connect to SMTP server, you probably like want to like get some information about your emails. So there's a couple different protocol in the application layer. And of course, like how you transfer the data, there's a TCP and UDP. This is very, very important concept, and we will cover this on other videos, in other videos. And of course, the network one, you probably need to this one, the IP one. So you know what the IP is, right? So what's the IP? Internet protocol. IP is Internet Protocol. So it's a protocol. And what the protocol is, I will show you later. Okay. So that's a couple of. Or another one is how you link the data. You can use Ethernet. You can use Wi-Fi to connect to your network. So that's a different protocol when you connect to your router. So it's also a protocol. And for physical one, like how the data translate. So there's another protocol for it. So in conclude, how many protocol? A lot. There's a lot of protocol in the world. But if you want to use a connection, you want to build a connection, actually you only need to choose one protocol for each layer on the stack. So for example, I can choose the the Y the Y the wire. Usually we just choose wire here. I can choose, for example, I want to get Wi-Fi here. Then, of course, we usually say IP, TCP IP, and here I can say TCP. So we use TCP IP. And what's the application? Maybe I can just choose FTP, not HTTP. So for one each connection, if as long as you can like try to like find a good protocol in each layer, then you can build a network connection. So this is the idea to use a protocol. And you can see the protocol has a different layer of protocol, and they are stored on a stack. So this is a stack. It's called Internet Protocol Stack. Okay. So today I want to show you the first protocol. I want to talk about it a little bit more, which is the network protocol, and it's called IP. So usually you know what the IP is, and let's see why we need IP and how it does, what is defined. So imagine that uh, you have routers in your neighborhood, and you try to connect to other routers. So first question you want to solve is, okay, if I have this machine, I want to connect to this machine, how can I do? How to know where this machine is? So where is the first question we want to answer. How to find the machine I want to send data to. The second one is how to send it. How to send it, because the this machine might be different to this machine. So if I send the message from this machine to this machine, can it be transferred? So the second question is how. Where the data sent to, or where the data sent from. How to send this data. So to answer these two questions, if we use this Internet Network Protocol, IP, then we can solve it. So actually, the IP, this protocol is important because it's define where and how your data sent to or sent from. Okay, so this is the basic idea of IP address. And what's the IP address? The first idea, the IP address is the special address for each machine, each router you have. So for example, I can give a number. This this is the first router, I could just give a number 1. And this router, I just give you 2. And this router, I give you 3. And inside each router, you have a like special like a address. For example, you can say this is A, this is B, this is C. So when I want to send the data from this machine to this machine, I probably just give a IP address called number 3 and C. I've used this address try to send. I use this address and I want to send the data to this address. So if we can define the address for each machine we have, of course, we can easily find a machine. If you want to send the data to the machine, you can easily find it, right? So this is the idea how we use IP protocol. So the first thing IP protocol define is the IP address. Because of this IP address, you can have a Unicode IP address to send data to other machine or receive data from other machine. So this is very, very important step for this network stuff, like in a world. The second one is how your data passes. So actually, how to pass the data is really, really complicated. It's not like you just try to send the data from one machine to another one. It's like you send the data to one another router close to you, then use it to send data to another router. So the data will be transferred by router. So you will transfer one router to another one, then to another one, until you find the one you want to search. So in this case, you can see your data will transfer to by like to a lot of different devices. And if the device is different, it's really, really hard to transfer, right? So the IP address, the IP protocol also define another one. How? How this data be translated? So if I want to pass the data to a machine, and inside this router, there's a software, you follow this protocol, convert the machine, convert the data, and send the data to another machine. So this is a way you can send data out to a machine far, far away from your machine. I can send the data from my home to my parents' house in Taiwan. It's like a really far, far away from here. This is the way to define the data transfer. And it's really, really important too. So what's the IP address? What's the IP address? In summary, it's provide an IP address. Then it's provide the way you transfer the data in different routers. Okay, so IP protocol provide the name, provide the delivery methodology. But here's the problem. Right now we have, what's the problem? We define the IP address in 32-bit. You can imagine that 32-bit is something like this, 4 bytes. And each byte represents a number. So that's the reason why you have this address ID. Your ID is like a something dot something dot something dot something, right? So for example, www.gooddeal.com.jp or something. So yes, this is how we define a network, how we give the name. But here's the problem. Because of the word, right now you can connect to your the network by on your computer. By using your computer, you can connect to network. You can use your telephone to connect to network, like your smartphone. You can use your television to connect to network. You can use your GAN stuff like switch to connect to network. You can use your Apple Watch to connect to network. You can use a lot of device to connect to network. So actually, what happens right now? So many device need to can connect to the network, cause the network address, the IP address is not enough. So the IP address, original IP address 4 bytes, 32-bit uh, IP address is not enough anymore because we have more than like enough. We try to use this IP address, but eventually we found we run out of this IP address. So how we solve this problem? So actually, there's a two different IP address for this moment. The first one is called IPv4. Another one is IPv6. So this traditional IP address is actually is IPv4. So right now we define another kind of IP address. It's called IPv6, and we use it to support the IP address because the IPv4's IP address is not enough for now. So we define another the methodology. So we we update the protocol. So the protocol can be updated because the protocol is kind of rule. And if the rule does not meet the current requirement, then we can change the rule. In this case, we can provide another protocol like stuff called IPv6, another different address, IP address format. So you can use this format of IP address to send the data to other machine too. Okay, so this is for the IP address. So this is for today. So today we talk about protocol. Why we need protocol? Because we need the rules. Everyone follow rules to build this network. We need definitely a standard for everyone to follow. And you can see there's a lot of different protocol in the world. And actually, they can be categorized to 5 different layers. It's a transport protocol, TCP, UDP. This kind of protocol we will talk about. We will talk in other videos. There's another protocol, network protocol. Usually we use IP protocol to define the name and how data transferred and of your machine or of your router. So this is something very important too. And we talk some details here. For IP address, there's two different IP address, IPv4, IPv6, because we don't have enough IP address on IPv4 to support the device we have in the world now. So we define another one. So this is for IP address, and it's also the network protocol. Of course, there's other 3 layers of protocol. Link protocol, how you connect to your router. Use Wi-Fi, use Ethernet, or application protocol. What kind of like a connection you want to build? You want to see the HTTP server, you want to see a FTP server, or you want to just use email, so you access the SMTP server. So this is something like different. So you can see there's a lot of protocol, and you can imagine that the protocol is just a rules. There's a couple rules in the world. Everyone need to follow it so you can build the connection to each other. So this is the idea because it's really hard to like communicate in different machine by different companies. So if we can follow a rule, we can like define a rule, everyone follow it, then it solve the problem, solve the issue, right? Okay, so this is for today, and I hope you enjoyed today's video. Protocol is very, very interesting and important topic in this course. Okay, so please review these lectures and check these details in the slides. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed today's video. See you next time. Protocol is awesome.